Hello, everybody. Today we're going to review the movie Where the Crawdads Sing. For some reason, I was thinking the title of this movie was Where the Crawdogs Sing, but that isn't true. It's Where the Crawdads Sing. So, yeah, I don't know why I had the title that wrong, unless there was, yeah, there must have just been mixed up in my head. But anyway, it's not Where the Crawdogs Sing, it's Where the Crawdads Sing. So this is a murder mystery movie about a girl who pretty much raises herself from a very young age out in the marshlands of, where was she? So I guess this story kind of starts in the 1950s and ends somewhere around the 1970s, I do believe, when she was older and is convicted, or not convicted yet, but brought in on charges of the murder of this guy named Chase Andrews. And I'll just take out my toothpick because otherwise I feel like you guys will have a hard time understanding me. So yeah, this Chase Andrews guy is murdered, or seems to be murdered at the beginning of the film, although there's really no evidence that he was murdered because there's no fingerprints anywhere. There's no evidence of footprints anywhere other than, yeah, there's no evidence of anything other than where he had landed. And throughout the movie, we kind of get little hints as to Kaya's, I guess, survival instincts out in the woods because she's been, or out in the marsh because she's been living there for so long, right? So I know it was down south. I just can't remember. Was it? Yeah, I just can't remember quite the location. But anyway, it was down south somewhere. We know that much. Um, and obviously, this being in the 1950s, yeah, it was a very different time in the 1950s. But her father was very abusive to not only the mother but all the kids. So she kind of watched her family leave one by one. First, I believe it was first it was the mother, obviously, and then it was the two older sisters, I believe, and then her. Did she have two brothers or just the one brother? And then I think the brother ended up leaving eventually too. Oh yeah, because Ma, Pa, um, yeah, who were her two? I know she had two sisters, so who were her two sisters? Hmm, I don't know why they're not. Oh yeah, Pearl and Tina, I believe, were her two sisters, right? If I'm remembering correctly. I think that's correct anyway. Possibly. I might even be wrong on that. Oh no, I guess not. I guess that's not right. Because Pearl and Tina were later on in the movie. So who the heck were her two sisters? It doesn't even seem like they're not even mentioned here. That's just weird. You would think that they would have been. Anyway, I guess that's not really important, but we do know, I do remember her having two older sisters that left the house, so yeah. I just can't remember whether she had two brothers or just the one. But anyway, he comes back later on in the movie um, once he realizes that she's still alive because she's not, I guess she's not writing that much. It's more like well, I guess she does write certain parts of it, but as she doesn't know her English very well before we even get into the fact that she's written some books and finally is able to get them published so that she can or buy the land that she actually is living on, because otherwise, if anybody comes in there and purchases the land even without a deed, they would be able to take it from her. So obviously she wants to be able to stay there for her whole life because that's where she's been and she doesn't want to move away. So after her, now I'm not really sure after her father leaves whether he had killed himself or whether he had just left, but he did treat her well at least while she was the only one with him for a certain amount of time, and then when I guess their mother wrote the note to say that she was going to try to come back and get them. Uh, he had threatened a whole bunch of stuff towards her, so she just kind of stayed away to, I guess, protect the kids, I suppose. And she was only really close with the one brother, Jody, who ends up, I guess, getting into the military. And she spent a lot of her time going to the, I guess, sort of like the little convenience store they had there that was owned by Mabel and Jumpin, I guess was his name. I swear to God he had another name. But anyway, the two of them kind of helped raise her from a very young age, and they didn't want to get involved in whatever was happening, so they never really asked any questions about what was going on. So she meets Tate when she's a girl, like a very young girl, and she says that it was the first time she ever kind of felt good again, in a sense, since her father had left, I suppose. Or I guess she met Tate before her father had left, so I guess she kind of felt a connection with somebody after the rest of her family left was more the case when she meets Tate as a kid. And then she once again runs into him once she gets older and all of her family is gone. They end up kind of falling in love. And then he goes off for college and says that he's going to come back, and then eventually just doesn't show up on the 4th of July when he promised, and then comes back about 4 or 5 years later, I think, and he does apologize for it, but by that time she's already met Chase, who was played by Harris Dickinson. Kaya is played by Daisy Edgar Jones. Tate Walker is played by Taylor John Smith. Her lawyer is played by David Strathern. Hope I'm pronouncing that. Tom Milton. Michelle Hyatt plays Mabel. Sterling Macer Jr. plays Jumpin. And Logan McCree plays Jody Clark. And then Bill Kelly plays Sheriff Jackson. And her father was played by Garrett Dillahunt. And her mother was played by maybe Anna O'Reilly, I believe would be how you pronounce that. So yeah, when she gets, right, she has already met Chase by that point. So obviously when Tate comes back, he gets a little jealous, hears Chase talking about her, and decides to kind of get involved in his own way, even though he probably shouldn't have, but I guess he doesn't believe that Chase is the right guy for her. So obviously there's going to be a bit of a decision to be made on her end. But then eventually Chase kind of shows his true colors when he doesn't want to let her go, that he thinks he kind of owns her. And yeah, I guess he kind of sealed his own fate, because we find out, even though after most of this movie takes place in the courthouse and the story is kind of told from her childhood to her adulthood, as she's sitting in the court and her lawyer and the state are trying to convince the jury that she was guilty of the murder, and obviously her lawyers trying to defend her to say that she wasn't guilty, because how would she have had the time in one night's period to come back and kill Chase and then be back on the other bus to go back to where she was with her publishers in order to be there for breakfast the next morning. There probably wouldn't have been enough time. At least that's what the jury believed, and she was free to go back out and live the rest of her life. And then she ends up spending the rest of her life with Tate, because I guess that was the only person she really truly loved, besides obviously maybe her other brother, who she had a connection with, who comes back into her life and kind of sticks around more than not. And she writes a whole bunch of different books. And then at the end of the movie was the twist where we find out that she had killed Chase, because she had the seashell necklace that she had given Chase in one of her books. I don't know whether I don't think she ever published that one, but I think she had written it as kind of her life went on or whatever. And you could see the look on Tate's face, like older Tate, as he was holding it, like, oh my God, she actually did do it, and she got off. She was yeah, the jury didn't believe that she had done it, and she was set free and was able to live out the rest of her life. So, kind of a crazy twist ending, that's for sure. Um, and I really did enjoy this movie because it was a murder kind of mystery movie, but it was told in a very different way, where you're kind of learning the story as we go while she's just sitting in the courtroom awaiting her verdict, right? Uh, and the story was very well done. Definitely dramatic in certain parts, and imagine if she actually had have been caught and they had found out that she was the one that did it. She would have, unfortunately, she would have suffered the death penalty, or she would have done at least life in prison, which would have been probably, I don't know what the life sentence was back in the 1970s, but it was probably much greater than what it is now, because I believe a life sentence is 35 years now. So depending on what age you were, you'd be spending most of your life in prison regardless. But yeah, if you were like already in your 30s or something, yeah, 35 years, you'd be 65 by the time you got out. So that's quite a stint in jail. Quite a section of your life cut out, regardless of how old you were. But I believe she was only, I think she must have been like in her early 20s when she pulled all this off. But her life story was pretty incredible. She definitely learned how to fend for herself, and there were little clues along the way, I guess, as to the fact that she might have been the one who did it, because when her and Tate got together first, when he was teaching her English and how to read and write and all that sort of thing, because she never really learned, because when she went to school, she just got constantly made fun of for being known as the Marsh Girl, even though her real name was Kaya. Nobody ever really referred to her as that. Even Chase called her the Marsh Girl when he was with her, and I guess there was little red flags to his character as well, going along, not really giving her much privacy, and kind of, I guess, saying that he was the only one that was going to treat her right, which I get. Yeah, my sister pointed out afterwards that could be the traits of an abusive partner, because, yeah, but I was kind of trying to give him the benefit of the doubt until he ended up slapping her on the beach, and then I was like, okay, this guy's ending up just being like her father, and she's going to see that in him as soon as he did that, and she's not going to want to be with him after that for sure. What else was I saying there? Oh God, I lost. I was saying something else before that about, yeah, her life. Oh yeah, right. The little Easter eggs or the little bits and pieces as to how she could have ended up, as to how it could have been obvious that it was her that did it. Because she covered up the footprints as her and Tate walked along, but I never really uh, looked into that too much, I guess, because she was also trying to keep social services after her from taking her away from the place she was living, obviously, because she was still young enough that she could be put into a group home, and she did not want that. And she'd already been out there for, what, 10 plus years, surviving on her own, so why would she want to go anywhere else now, right? She'd already learned to fend for herself and so on and so forth, so it wouldn't make much sense for her to be in society, because she didn't really like being around that many people anyway. She never really felt like she fit in. And I guess the rest of the town kind of, you know, made her an outcast anyway, even though she only lived 5 miles away, which isn't really that far outside of town. So yeah, kind of an odd thing to do to somebody, but yeah, they always considered her weird because of where she lived. But yeah, you shouldn't really just judge people based on what you think about them, right? You gotta meet them and get to know them and sort of thing. And her publishers even said that she was a very kind girl and so on and so forth. So I think I think the people who were up on the stand defending her definitely were the ones who helped her with her case for sure, because she wouldn't take the stand herself, because she wasn't going to let the people. She didn't think that the people would even care about anything she had to say, because they weren't judging her, they were judging themselves, right? So no matter what, they were gonna probably convict her of the murder, is what she was thinking anyway. I think she was kind of shocked that she got off scot-free. So anyway, what else can I say? I don't think there's much else I can say. I will say, though, it was probably a good thing that Tate did end up coming back into her life, because without that, she probably would have ended up... I'm not really sure how it would have ended with Chase, because when she meets him in the city, she finds out that he already has a fiance, so... Yeah, it was kind of... I think it was kind of doomed to fail right from that point on anyway, so... But anyhow, I did give this movie an 8 out of 10. I think it deserves that, and if you've gotten a chance to go see it in theaters, I feel like this is kind of one of those ones that's going to fly under the radar again, because it's one of those movies where it's being released with so many other big titles. But yeah, it just kind of grabbed my attention when I saw the trailers for it, and I was like, really kind of want to go see this just to see what it's all about, so I did, and I wasn't disappointed. It's, yeah, again, one of those movies that just kind of goes, that most people are just kind of bypass, right, because of, like Thor Love and Thunder's out right at the moment of this release, and what else is out? I think that's really the only other big one. I mean, Top Gun's still in theaters, so yeah, there's some bigger titles that are probably going to just, this movie is just going to be bypassed by a lot of people in theaters, but hopefully, if you are into like thriller/murder mystery, this is the type of movie for you. And yeah, if you didn't get a chance to go see it in theaters and you're just seeing this review, I would say I highly recommend it. And that's it for this review. I think I said I gave it an 8 out of 10, and I will see you guys. If I didn't, then I just said it now, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye for now.